Hey, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Ultimate Affiliate Marketing. I'm your host, as always. It's Paul Motley here, and today I have an extremely special guest. We have Simone Vencenzi. Simone, how you doing, man?
I'm really good, Paul. How about yourself?
We're just enjoying the day, man. Just enjoying the day. So, for those of people that don't know you, because I mean, you get to probably do a lot of these podcasts, right? And you get to like spread your word around the whole internet. But for my audience, just explain who you are and what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the work that we do at GTEx is to turn experts into authorities. And the reason why I love this particular work, it is because there are a lot of people that have a message, there's something to say, that have a gift. But they are really brilliant at what they do, but they are struggling to have a profitable, sustainable business doing that very thing. And there are a few reasons why, but a lot of times is that because they are not positioned well enough, or they don't have enough people that are listening to them that say, oh yes, I need to go with you and not with someone else. Right now is a very crowded market. It's like everyone has moved online, whether they liked it or not. My background was in the event industry. So I started my company 9 years ago, and I started in this industry 9 years ago, and started my company 7 years ago. And we run about 200 events a year. So I do around 200 speaking engagements every single year, UK mainly, but we have a few global events as well. And so it is really, right now that there is no other alternative, the way you position yourself becomes sometimes like the missing piece of the puzzle between someone saying, yes, I'm going to work with you, or I'm going to work with someone else. So that's why I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And obviously from doing events, that's probably one of the businesses which have been hit hardest through the pandemic, because all of a sudden now we're not allowed and we're not supposed to go and meet together, and it's crazy. And
man,
don't get me started. How have you managed to sort of like progress through that? What's been your biggest change this year?
Well, this year has been a restructuring the company in a way where we could deliver all our training online. We were not new to the online game. So I was not new to the online game. I've been doing webinars for at least 5 years, solid CRM, email sequences, had online products. But there is our online game was to take people offline. It wasn't to keep people online.
Right.
And so when you have an entire business online, is a different beast, is a different game. There is the audience needs to be way bigger for the same conversion to happen, because there is less connection, right? Sure. I mean, between you and me, there is a screen right now.
I know.
Is more crowded. You have distractions bombarding you all over the place. While when you are in an event, in a seminar room, your attention is there. And so I was like, we really worked our arse off to build this company from scratch, starting our first event in a farm, and then not being able to run events. It's been tough for the first few days. But then me and my business partner, we said, okay, what are we doing now? And so we managed to very quickly, within a week, contact all our clients, see what they wanted, restructured all our company, restructured the way we were delivering training, updating our pricing, simplifying our business model. Literally, it's been a hell of a week, but we made it work, and I'm really happy with that, and the results are showing. So
that's cool, man. That's cool. I mean, a couple of things come to mind now. Obviously, when you're doing, like say, an in-person event is way different to doing something online. And I see, like, at the moment, a massive shift towards people doing virtual summits and virtual events and stuff like that. And and it can be a little bit like the Wizard of Oz, where this all-powerful voice, and it's completely, what the realistic thing behind it is, it's a guy on a computer. Whereas even now, for people seeing what we're doing this, I always prefer, when I'm doing the podcast interviews, to actually have video on, just because I can get that connection with you as well. I can gauge your reaction. You can do the same with me and all that sort of thing. But I have a fake background behind me right now, right? This is not a wall, right?
Same here. Green screen.
And people
green screen all the way.
And obviously people listening won't understand this, but you know, you can change things around a fair bit if you really want to. And it's this, there we go. I'll just give him another one there. I've just put myself on a beach. So this is the thing with online stuff. You can literally paint yourself any which way you like. And, you know, you can perceive yourself as anything. I mean, I could have had a background of a huge mansion with a Porsche and all that sort of thing, and suddenly go, oh yeah, this is just out my back window and all that bullshit, right? So
yeah.
So you can do that. But when you are talking about, you know, I mean, doing the events and moving everything online now, I mean, who's sort of like your perfect customer? Who would you be able to help the most?
The people that we are able to help the most are experts in their field, the people that are already good at what they're doing, and they already have worked with clients, so they know they can provide results. And what they need right now is a megaphone for what they are doing. That's one. And two, they need simplicity. Because it's very easy to get caught up at the beginning when you're good at something, to get caught up in creating one product after the other, one service after the other. I mean, I'll tell you, there was a point where we had 35 different offers within our company, within GTEx. Wow. And it was a nightmare to manage, because you cannot retrain your staff members when we were scaling. It was too complex, too many options. That's one of the things that we've been working on during lockdown, and simplifying things. So people that are great at what they do, they have clients, they have results, and now they need simplicity. So simplifying their business model, strategy, and offerings, and in particular having a megaphone so that they can reach more people. And we do that mainly through can be interviews, podcasting, speaking engagements, getting featured on major publications, TV or radio shows. Because for me, that was the game changer. A lot of times it's not that when you are great at what you do, if you are the only one saying that you're great at what you do, there's a problem.
Yeah, I get that.
The real credibility comes when you have a trusted source that tells others,
of course,
that you're great at what you do.
It's almost like borrowing authority, isn't it? So you know, you can do this, and this, Simone, this is why I'm so pumped for you being on the podcast itself. Because my audience really isn't aimed at sort of like beginners, people are just starting out. It's aimed at more people that are, I would say, in the intermediate level. You know, they've started having some success, they've started making some sales, they've started making some money. And then they realize, okay, right, I'm now posting out my successes, if you like, and people are starting to ask me how I did it, right? And then the natural progression is that they will build themselves either a course or a program, which then they want to sell on to other people. So a lot of people listening are going to be at that stage, and they're going to think, okay, right, now I've got this idea, I want to put it out there, but you know, how can I expand my audience? How can I get more people to see what I've got, and also explode it even greater by having JV partners to help build a business as well. So, you know, this is why it's so cool getting you on, man. I love it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
That's cool. Right. So what would someone do? What was your first thing? If someone's got like, okay, right, well, let's say I've got an ABC program and they come to you and go, I want to get it out there. How do I do it? What's your sort of like your first sort of steps towards helping someone maximize?
There are four things that we are going to look at, and they are divided between the short term and the long term. Okay, because a lot of people are only focus. They only focus on the short term, so they focus on the launching and getting clients and getting the business going, which is important. But they focus on the long term game of positioning, which takes years. Some people don't want to do the work for that long, but they will have a short life in this industry.
Yeah.
Then, so let's look at the short term, because first we start with the short term, and there are two things that we need. Number one is a clarity in business 101. Who are you going to create a program for? How what's going to be your business strategy, and where that particular offer that you are launching fits in your product ecosystem. This is something very few people do, because they come up with an idea and they say, I want to create and launch this offer. So they will create the offer, but they will not fit the offer in a customer journey where there's the natural progression from one offer to the other for your clients. So
Yeah.
they feel when they join your organization, your company, or your courses, that there is a path for them. A lot of times what the reality is that they feel like a ball in a pinball machine, right? Where you have all your different offers and then you're pinballing them from one place to the other. And it becomes very confusing for them. And that's also why they might not buy from you again, but they will look for someone else, because they cannot see a progression. They cannot see a path. They cannot see a journey. So having that journey becomes priceless once you identify, if I put this program, what's the natural next step that my client is going to take? And after that, what's the natural next step, and so on. So that would be the very starting point.
That's sort of like your first thing to do there. So if someone's already got something that they've launched and they want to push that even further, what would you say to those people? So, I mean, I know for a fact, right, there's at least 4 or 5 people that I know of right now that are about to, or just have launched their own program. Mm-hmm. What would you be able to do for those guys?
Yeah, so there are a few things that we are going to look at, which is the next part. And we are going to work on conversion and audience growth. Right. I love to work on conversion optimization first. When there is a launch, I always want to have soft launches before. I know it's nothing new for people that have been in this industry for a while, but first you want to test your offer, to test your conversion, because I'm a big believer that the back end is more powerful than the front end. Of course, you need the people to get in front of a lot of people, because the more people you're getting in front of, the more conversions you will make.
Yeah.
But if your offers and funnels, and either if you have a webinar or your email sequences or the different touch points that you are going to put in place, they are going to increase your conversion. It means that you can spend less effort on marketing and money and in advertisements, and to have great results. And so what we are going to look at is like a multi-channel approach. How do we integrate automation with personal touch? Because personal touch wins the game right now. Yeah. Personal touch wins the game, because everything is automated. Everything is automated.
I know, yeah. We live in an automated world, right?
We live in an automated world. And so having that place is that, okay, in this customer journey, when the person comes in at the beginning of the funnel, what's going to be the touch points that I can put in place to increase it? So for example, one of the things that we do, as soon as someone registers for one of our webinars, we actually make the phone number mandatory. So every product launch we do, every webinar we do, not for PDF or guides on the front end, but we will always have, they must have put their phone number down. We don't want, of course, some people will put a fake phone number, but the majority, we found that the people that will leave their phone number will cost a bit more to get that person, but they're more interested in someone that would be put off from registering from the page just by leaving their phone number.
Yeah, totally get that. I mean, sometimes when I'm looking at things and optimizing the conversions, like you say, in the front end, if you're just going for like getting like your lead magnets out there and stuff, you don't need the person's phone number. You don't need this. You don't need that, right? I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, and they were selling a product. It was a digital product, but on their cart page, they were asking for their shipping information. And I was like, well, why do you need that? Just get rid of it. It's going to kill your conversions, right? You need the bare minimum, because the easier and simpler that you can make it for someone to progress to the next stage, is going to make it so much easier on the conversions. But I totally get what you're saying there. Once you've got past that initial stage and you want someone to register for a webinar, you really want to, by adding that extra field in, by having the phone number being required, it qualifies that person more. So like you say, you know, you want a higher quality of person that comes to your webinar, because then the show up rate's going to be better. Ultimately, conversion rate's going to be better. Yeah.
Exactly. And in particular, I want that because I want to start a personal conversation with them. Either it's me or my team. I want to start a conversation with them before they attend the webinar. So there is, as soon as they register, there is an open question on what they would like to learn, and that's automated. But then the moment they respond, I will start, or my team will start having a conversation with them. And in that conversation, it's not a sales conversation. What we do is understand what is that they want to learn from the webinar, and then send them additional resources that we have created, linked to that part of the webinar that we're going to cover, or linked to that topic that they're interested in.
Love it. And is that done via direct phone call, SMS, or messenger?
That's direct SMS. Yes, yeah, that's via direct SMS.
Oh, that's cool, because again, we're talking about even like open rates in that, and the way that things get superseded. I've noticed that a lot of people talking about the fact that, you know, before it was like, oh, you know, you get an email rather than a letter come through the post. An email is like the best thing. And then it moved on to something else. Oh, now messengers through Facebook, that's the best thing. But even now, I think superseding that is text messages. Because
text messages is
you get like a 100% open rate on it, because people will just see a text and they'll know that text is there every time they pick the phone up, so they're going to open it. That's cool, man. I love it.
I absolutely love it. And just having that touch point and that part of the conversation before they attend increased our show up rate literally up to 50% from webinars. We have an average of about like 45 to 50% show up rate.
That's crazy.
Which is really good.
Yeah,
which is really good.
Rule of thumb tends to be around anything between 15 and 20%, you know, to show up rate, and that is one of the biggest fall offs, I think, when it comes to like your sales funnel, if you like, is one of the biggest drops is, you know, people getting to show up. Now, I do want to touch on that a little bit, because it's getting into technical stuff, and again, the people which are out there, which are about to launch or just have launched, they're going to be super interested in this. When you go for like the webinars, do you tend to say, okay, right, well, it's Monday today, the webinar's on Thursday, or do you go, right, okay, well, you registered and the webinar is tonight or it's tomorrow? What sort of gap do you tend to leave between the times?
Well, it depends on when they register, but I like, I think as a rule of thumb, about 3 to 4 days.
3 to 4 days, yeah.
3 to 4 days. I found sometimes I will do 7 days if it's part of a bigger campaign. But the bigger part of the promotion of the webinar, that will be 3 to 4 days in. We still have the biggest number of registrations happening on the day.
Yeah.
We will then, that's the beauty of having those conversations over text messages before, because what is going to help me understand is who is going to show up live on the webinar, who is not going to show up live on the webinar, who I know already that will need a replay later. Yeah. Who I know that they are just like browsing around and not interested in it. Because then when you're in the conversation, you start getting into it. And so I want to know more about them. And there's a lot of time that we spend. So it's that's the majority of the time. But if you spend the time there, it means that you become now more relevant. And so they are more likely to open the automated email. They're more likely to show up for the webinar. They're more likely to buy the product. If they don't buy, they're more likely to show up for a next webinar, which we'll do. So when you have that conversation, then you can then start customizing more, even the customer journey for that person via text messages, and making sure that it increases the chances for them to see all the other material that you're putting out. That's why I just absolutely love text messages. We're doing it when we're running events, because to get a person to attend an event, it costs you way more than to attend a digital event. Main reason why is because finding a person that needs to have that time, not only the time free, but needs to travel to a location, come in, be present, arrange childcare. So there are more different variables, and I wanted to make sure that whatever we invested in the marketing, that could actually come and attend in the room instead of having a 10% show up rate.
Yeah, I totally get that, because again, what you're doing then is in a very similar way where you've got a captive audience in the event. The doors are locked, no one leaves until you get your checkbook out, right? So that sort of thing. You're almost trying to emulate that closeness and that personalization for that individual when they actually coming onto the webinar, so that they can feel like it's more personal rather than just having something. I mean, on any given week, I might watch like one, maybe two, sometimes even 3 different webinars. It's crazy, and I can tell you now, I don't buy from them all.
It's normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Yes, that's right. Occasionally something comes along and I think, I gotta have that, right? So I just get it anyway, and then I'll go back to it. But information is so accessible these days, and like you say, taking that, and it does take that personalization out, because you can just hop onto a webinar any day of the week. I can open up my emails now, and I could probably, over the last day, I could probably find 7 or 8 options for webinars very easily. So it's what you're doing now, like, because you're actually making sure that people are fully aware. You're getting a way of delivering the information to people that they are going to get as well.
Yeah.
And then providing them extra resources, like you say, having that conversation with them, preparing them for that personalized experience when it comes to the webinar. So that's off, man. That sounds awesome. So
Thanks.
I can tell you're passionate about it as well, which is always
I absolutely, I love it. I love geeking out in conversion. Like I'm really passionate. I'm passionate about 2 things. One is positioning and building a brand, and the other is conversion. And I'm just like, I'm a big believer in the back end.
Yeah, who doesn't like conversions, right?
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, that's super cool. Super cool. Right. Okay. Right. So going on from that, what would be the next step? Because we've been bouncing around. We're doing that pinball thing that you were talking about before, right?
We're doing the pinball thing. So we are actually there is a flow. There is a flow. So we looked first at the strategy. Where does your program fits into your ecosystem? Then we moved into looking at the conversion of the offer. So how actually the offer is delivered, how do we increase the conversion from the different webinars or pages that we have? Then we are going to the audience growth. So how do we get in front of more people?
Yeah.
And that's where you come into place. With definitely joint venture is a big part of it. Having great joint ventures and affiliates that can promote the things for you. Using Facebook advertisement. I'm one of the strategies that I love the most. I love a lot of organic strategies. That's how I build my business. One of the organic strategies I love the most in the expansion part is actually to deliver training for other communities. Whether it's being interviewed on podcasts like I'm doing now, or doing more like a private training to a Facebook group or to a paid group that people are part of. There is that element of the host. They already have the trust with the host. They already have the trust with the leader of the community. And if they introduce me as the expert in this thing, then I already have a certain level of positioning that allows me to either go for a straight pitch or to invite people on my webinar or my event and so on. But what happens is that the second time they come along because they really want to hear from me. Because they already heard from me once.
Yeah.
So the people that liked me, the people that didn't like me, then they say, oh, they is not relevant for them. They will have already self-eliminated themselves. They were already excluded.
Yeah.
But the people that are going to be there, I know they are way more likely to buy because they already had the credibility by association. Then they already heard from me once. So there is already given them value, and they already gotten something from it. And now the second time is way more likely they're going to buy. And so I'm doing this strategy on clockwork, always finding new communities, always delivering training, directing them to my training, and then that's where I sell. And I found that the conversion is really high because there is already that relationship. At the end of the day, it's a relationship game. The more relationship they have with you, the more they're going to buy.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And one thing you said there, I've seen happen. You know, I'm in a paid group myself, and it's extremely rare for this individual to have anything else other than his own program in his group. Yeah. And then about, I don't know, maybe a month, 6 weeks ago, he brought someone else in, made the announcement that this thing was happening, the Facebook Live within the group, had to be there. And then he sort of like did his usual intro, handed it over to the second person, who then went into like basically a mini webinar with a pitch at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting enough, I bought at that time as well. So it was crazy.
But if you just saw a Facebook ad from that person, you would have not cared.
Exactly. Yeah. And it goes down to that sort of like borrowed authority, where you think, okay, right, well, I've already paid, I've invested enough into this one person, which means obviously I know, like, and trust them. They're recommending this other person, so they must be all right. And then it sort of like, you know, that wariness, if you like, or the skepticism isn't really there. And it's just ultimately a decision of whether or not.
And then it's up to them to do a good job and to deliver value during their presentation and be good presenters and have a good offer. So these parts, they still need to be in place. It's not that they're not relevant anymore, but as you mentioned, the skepticism is not there. Like, you're there already with an open mind most of the time, not to. Let me see what BS is gonna sell me right now. that guard is not happening in that moment, or is happening way less.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, again, people can't see this because we're on the podcast, but the body language of the arms folded, you know, right, as opposed to the hands by the sides, that sort of thing. You know, the arms have been unfolded by the host of the group already. You know, you come in completely unarmed, unprepared to say no, and it's, you know, it's just a great deal. Is this something that you help people do when it comes to actually like putting yourselves out there, getting that partnerships and everything else? Is that part of what?
Absolutely, that's part of the programs that we run. We run a program called. There are two programs that are for this. So one is the Profile Builder, and the other one is the Ultimate Expert program that we are running, which they basically go for this for the sequence that we have created, looking at the entire strategy, the conversion of the offer, the audience growth and expansion. And then let me tap into the last one, because I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we have the short-term game, the long-term game.
Yeah.
So the part of the long-term game is doing the organic work to establish your credibility and expand organically your audience, not only in the moment when you need them, which is the moment of the launch, but consistently. And then we are looking at your profile and your influence, which is the fourth part. How sellable are you? How trustworthy are you? I'll tell you this story. My biggest breakthrough, the big breakthrough for me, came when I was 26, and it was 4 years in from running the company. And we were running at that point, we've already run 300 events. So it's not that we are new to the field. 300 events is a certain number. We're running events consistently. We had a good network, but still we're really struggling to get clients consistently. We're really struggling to, people were seeing still us as like the young kids coming in. Right, so there was that, and you know, in the online world is much more used to like seeing younger people having incredible launches, but in the speaking world, like in the live events, the average age is actually still like on the 40 plus. So having someone who is in their 20s coming in and say, I can teach you this and I can teach you that, there is a high level of skepticism there. And I had an event which through a connection I managed to, by supporting actually the event organizer, I managed to get, which was an event with Les Brown in front of 1,000 people. and I was 26 at the time. And I managed to be the MC of that entire event.
Nice.
Literally that year we went, I think, from like 20,000 a year to 120,000, and the year after was 240,000, and then 500,000. Like it has been exponentially grow from there. And the reason why is that the event with Les Brown put us on the map. It's not that we weren't there, but people didn't know or didn't trust us enough to be there. And so that really opened my eyes about the topic of perception.
Yeah.
Because if you can have the best product, you can be great at what you're doing, you can be awesome at your stuff, but if people don't see you as credible, or they don't see you as someone worth listening to, they're gonna keep scrolling. They're not going to stop. And that's why the credibility that you get from publications. I mean, I made it a mission for myself. Like I became an official contributor of Forbes magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, the Huffington Post, getting on TV, radio station, doing their events. I did an event with Gary Vee. I did an event with, with Dr. John Martini, got Frank Kern on the podcast. Like growing my positioning, it has been the thing that then made everything else work. Like everything else needs to be there. Yeah. It's not that if you only have positioning and then you have nothing, then you're like the broke influencer, right? It's like, hey, look at me, I got thousands of followers and no one buys. Yeah. But if you have a good business and you have the right positioning, then you're on. That there is, you have the machine that works, you have the audience, and you have the authority and credibility for people to buy from you, and then you have the complete thing. And that's what we help our clients with.
And that's what you do, and that is what you do, and that is why so many people, I'm guessing, like, you know, I've got names running off my head now right the way. I need to recommend them to you already. Keep thinking, right, I need to send this person, I need to send that person. It's pretty cool. But if someone wanted to find out themselves, where would be the best place to sort of like find out, if they wanted to tap in and thought, this sounds like I need this, right? So where would they be able to start plugging into your stuff? Where would they find it?
There are 3 places that you can visit. Let me give you all 3. So number 1, if you like podcasts, you love listening to podcasts, then listen to our show. I mean, if you're here, I assume you like podcasts. So our show is Explode Your Expert Business Show. So Explode Your Expert Biz Show. And you can find it in any podcasting platforms. And we look at all the different strategies. We have guest and solo episodes on all the different strategies to get known in your field, have successful launches, what we've been talking today. The second place is our Facebook group. So if you want to get more involved and see some behind the scenes of the things that are happening in our community, join our Facebook group, which is the Explode Your Expert Biz community. You can find it on Facebook. So Explode Your Expert Biz Community, same name of the podcast. And last thing, if you want to go a bit deeper and you say, actually, I'm willing to leave you my name and email address, then we have the expert business checklist. So this is a checklist that we have created where you identify at what stage of the expert ladder you're on. So if you're a hobby, expert, influencer, or authority in your field. And then at each stage, it will help you identify what you have and what you don't have. And it will automatically pinpoint you into the next step for you. So it's like, this is what you should focus on right now in your business. Because a lot of times there are people that are starting out that are running a business like they already had millions of followers and 7 figures. And it's like, no, just do the things that you need to do now. But there are then people that have hundreds of thousands of followers that are still running their business like they had 5, and they did something different. So that just helps you clarify what's your next step. So I'm assuming that the link is going to be then in the show notes. We can put it called Expert Biz Checklist.
Beat me to it, man, didn't you?
I've done a few of these.
He's way more professional than me right now. Seriously, he's already on there. He's probably got it. I can't see this, but I bet he's got a whole notes all around his monitor there saying, remember to say this, remember to say that. I don't know. There's something I should do.
You know what? I used to. Now I've done so many podcast interviews that it just comes out automatically.
That's it. I totally get it, Simone. That's awesome, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we put all the links in the show notes. It's so important for people to see the show notes, right? Because I find that like with YouTube, if you can sit and watch YouTube for like 8 hours a day without touching your mouse because of the autoplay function, right? And it's exactly the same with podcasts as well. So when people listen, and they call it like binge listening, you know, sometimes it's okay to like hit the pause, go and check the show notes, go and find Simone's links, just tickle them with your mouse and go and get some good stuff. And that's kind of like how we want to do things right now. So I'm going to get this out there. It's, well, obviously it's going to go out today. So everyone that's listening, obviously it's out today. And make sure if you like what you've heard and you think this is something that's going to help you with your business, then by all means contact Simone, make sure that you get something sorted out sooner rather than later, because procrastination is an enemy of success, right? So you need to make sure you keep pumping it out there. Listen, dude, I've had a blast doing this. It's been super fun. I love doing these. Thanks for coming on, man.
That's my pleasure. Thank you for having me here, Paul. Appreciate it.